So yeah, we're just gonna have a chat.
Cool. I'm excited.
So tell me a little bit about, I don't know if we ever talked about, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Gainesville, Georgia. This isn't going to surprise you at all. I was Pam Ware's student. So, yeah, which is the best life that I could possibly live is being Pam Ware's student. So I grew up in Gainesville, Georgia. That's where my whole entire family is. But I didn't start doing theater until my 8th grade year of middle school. And it was really just an escape to not have to take PE. I found out that there was theater and I was like, I think I want to do that. And I talked to my principal and was like, I think this is something I could be into. Um, but I have to take my PE credit. So they let me out of PE to take theater class. And we did a show in class. I should look it up so that I know what it is now. But it's something about like the girl that was asked to turn blue. And I can't remember who it was by or anything like that. But I had to be painted blue in the middle of the show. So just imagine this little middle school classroom with a built-in stage in the classroom, and then your parents could come and sit in chairs. And there wasn't an intermission, but there was a little scene, and I went back behind this facade and got blue paint all over me that I would then have to wash off later. I've got to look up the play because it's quite a comedic story. And then after that, we kind of did a creative piece where we partnered with the high school. And that's where I realized this is something that I could continue doing. My favorite part of theatrical life, I think, so far to this day, is the way that I figured out I wanted to be a theater teacher. It was my senior year of high school, and I was kind of like, I could go a lot of ways. I don't really know what I want to be in college. What do I want to do? And Miss Ware was taking me to Georgia Thespian Conference. And she was like, you need to audition for scholarships. And on the old paper form that we used to have to fill out before computers were as prominent as they are now, there was a slot for scholarship auditions that you would make your check mark there, a slot for college auditions, and then there was a slot that you could check for the theater educator scholarship. And I was like, oh, that's the first time I ever put the realization together that that's a thing. That's something that I could do in real life. And so I checked it and got with Miss Ware, and she kind of talked me through and prepared me, and I ended up getting the scholarship at Thespian Conference that year. And I just thought, that's it. That's God leading me to what I was supposed to do. And I've just been very happy doing it ever since.
Yeah, I mean, I know you mentioned PE. What was there anything else about theater, either going to theater or being in theater, that you felt that really drew you in?
Absolutely. My granny was a huge part of my life growing up. She lived right next door to us, and I am 6 years younger than both of my siblings. So it was kind of like me and Granny and me, especially in the summer times. And Miss Ware's summer community theater would do things like Annie and South Pacific, and my granny would always take me to the shows. And we had a good family friend, Katie Barton, who was always in the shows when she was in high school. She's still performing now, and she was like kind of like my idol, like my high school idol. Like maybe I could do this someday. And so my greatest memory is Miss Ware would do Annie every few years, and that's the show that I remember the most, seeing with my granny and thinking maybe I could do this. Maybe that would be fun. I always thought it was so inspiring that so many people put so much hard work into the performance that you're seeing. It's just really fun. It's a family, and I think I wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit, like how theater's been a family for you.
Theater's been a huge family for me. As I keep talking about Miss Ware, but it's because she's such a prominent inspiration in my life, and still is a mentor to me to this day. She really kind of scooped me under her wing, and I think it's really interesting how she facilitates class in a very caring and emotion-filled manner. She's not there just to do the work, and I think this is something that most theater teachers are like, right? We're not there just to do the work. We're not there just to produce a play. We're there to create a family and to make sure that every person is seen, every person is heard, and every person has a place. That's what I think is the most amazing thing about all theater. is it can be your place. It can be your home. And Miss Ware has really fostered me from knowing me in middle school through my family to mentoring me and teaching me in high school to being my real inspiration on becoming a theater teacher to now mentoring me with Georgia Thespians.
Yeah.
She's my family.
Yeah. Well, so that's for you personally, like what you love as you've started to teach, and you're seeing this kind of family in a sense of your own coming forward, like as you have kids come through the program. Um, Maybe about that in particular, what do you love as you're seeing now being a teacher? Like, what do you love about it?
My students are my kids. Like you said, they're mine. I will take them forever. They are my kids. And I love seeing growth. It's been really great to be I've been at 3 different schools, 3 very diverse schools. And it's really amazing to see the community that can be built through theater. And I think that family wise, you have so many kids that come through and you don't know what they're going through in real life. But through stories in theater, through community building in theater, you can really foster that family connection, whether it's with you and the student in a support kind of system, or whether it's between student to student to student to student, them becoming a community themselves, them understanding each other's needs and the support that they need throughout school. I think that theater can be a really great outlet for stress. And through community building in class, you kind of foster that family aspect of things that grows the community with your group. And then you can help kind of release stress through theater, release stress through actions and acting and singing and dancing.
Yeah. So if you were talking to a younger teacher about some of the things that you found are really important to build that community, what would be some things that you feel like you tried, maybe some things that haven't worked or some things that have worked that you feel like can help bring everybody together?
Absolutely. I think that, let me think on it for a minute. I think that community can be built in a lot of different ways when it comes to theater. I think that as a young teacher, what works is just putting your whole self into your work. That's kind of what's lucky about coming straight out of school and being able to teach as you're young. And you can really maybe not have a family of your own yet. So your theater group can really be your family and can really foster that love and that caring that you need to kind of fill in that family void that you have. I kind of moved away from my family for my first job. And so my kids were my everything. They were my all. And I think you just have to be understanding and supportive of the student and the student's background, where they're coming from every day. Something that I didn't think about because I don't have kids and because I was really lucky in high school and I babysat. I didn't have to work a job at night. I babysat on the weekends or I swept up hair at the hair salon down the street. But it wasn't a really strenuous job. These days, some of these kids that come into our classes have been working through the night until 1, 2, and 3 in the morning, closing stores and then cleaning the stores themselves. And then they go home and they still have homework and they still have family to care for. And then they have to wake up in the morning and come to school. And if I can bring them something inspiring throughout the day, or really just something fun, then I think that's really important. And it can brighten their day and help them get through the rest of the day, which without theater could be really hard. Without something to bring a little light could be really hard.
Mm-hmm. So when you're thinking of inspiring them, obviously you have to draw that inspiration from a source yourself, from sort of a well. Like, what are some of the things that inspire you?
I love community building. So I am really lucky, and I work at a school that allows me to work with lower school, middle school, and upper school. And what I love is to bring all of them together. I just finished Footloose, the school edition of Footloose, and I got to work with kids as young as 6th grade, but kids as old as going into 11th and 12th grade. And the community that they built, these 6th graders were looking up to these 11th graders. These 11th graders were loving these 6th graders. That community, seeing that and seeing it fostered through a show that I get to direct is amazing. That's my inspiration every day. And then you get to the final point, and the girl who in her audition, you thought, I don't know if she can do it. I don't know if she can sing this part. She sings every single part perfectly. And she's proud, and you're proud, and her parents are proud, and she is happy, and she is a star, and people are seeing her, and people are hearing her. I think that that's important. I think that that is my inspiration. I love to see pieces come together, and I love to see students mentoring students.
Yeah. Well, changing a little bit of gears for a second, is there? It's so hard to pick favorites, I know, but is there a show that you've either seen or been in or directed that speaks to you personally?
Okay, so let's go. Can we go all three? Okay, so shows that I've seen that speak to me perfectly, personally, it's kind of cheesy, but Legally Blonde will always be a show that has my heart personally because of the struggles that she goes through and the out front and forward way that Elwood attacks everything. I love that show. I love every song. I love what she represents. I love what she does. I love that that is a strong female role that students get to portray. So Legally Blonde is my personal favorite. My favorite show that I've been in, I might have two. Can I have two? Okay, I'm gonna have two. My favorite show that I was in high school was Seussical. We did Seussical, and I got to be the sour kangaroo. And Miss Ware cast a baby kangaroo that was a younger elementary school student. And that was so fun for me. That's the building of the relationships, right? I got to build this relationship with this girl who's now in college, who I still follow. She'll still reach out to me for advice because I got to do this show with her. I don't even know how many years ago. We're family. Me and her were family. She'll always be my baby kangaroo. And then in college, The Tempest was probably my favorite show that I was a part of. And that was my favorite show because of how challenging it was. I wouldn't say that I'm a connoisseur of Shakespeare. And so it was really, really intimidating to be cast in the role of Ariel. But I had this amazing moment that showed me theatrical on-stage community support. We had a full audience, and I was coming on stage, and I had this monologue, and I had the moment where I looked into Prospera's eyes, and I had no idea what I was supposed to say. Didn't know what my monologue was, didn't know what the first word was. I had nothing. And he and I, from working together so closely in these roles, he knew. Somehow, I don't know how he knew. I don't know if my eyes were bulging out of my head, but he knew. And he gave me that first sentence, switched around as a question, and then it just flowed. And it was amazing. I've never felt so supported by another character in a play before. And that is what I hope that my students will always be for each other. I talk about supporting each other on stage a lot when I'm directing, and being familiar with all aspects of the show, not just your characters, not just your lines. It's really easy to focus on ourselves. It's really easy to think about what you have to do specifically. It's a lot harder when you think about the people around you. But if you're not thinking about the people around you, you are not in the moment of that theatrical action and that theatrical performance. You're not living your character. If you can think about everything in the full picture, you're living your character, you're supporting your fellow actors and actresses, and that's what's going to give you the best performance.
Yeah. What show really makes you laugh?
What show really makes me laugh? It's probably because I just did it so recently and because my Willard was so hilarious. But I love Footloose. And it makes me chuckle so much, the song that Willard sings, Mama Says. Because it's cheesy, it can kind of be a little hokey in the dancing. And Willard, every experience that I've ever done directing Footloose or seeing Footloose, Willard always sells it. He always sells that silly, funky character. And I love Mama Says. I love that song.
Yeah.
I absolutely do.
What play or musical really touches you deeply?
Come From Away. Come From Away is something that I got to see on Broadway a couple of years ago, and it was outstanding. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew the general storyline, but I didn't expect to laugh. I expected to cry, but I didn't expect to laugh and fall absolutely in love with every single character on the stage and every single actor and actress playing multiple roles with a set of chairs. What? That's what I loved, is that show was about the acting. It was about the heart. The set was gorgeous, but it was about the soul of the show. It wasn't a hokey set that was going to take away from any of the acting. It was beautiful. It was about what those actors and actresses could bring to the story. It was done so beautifully.
During intermission, do you get a snack?
It depends on where I am. If I can get popcorn, I'm going to get popcorn. I love theater popcorn. Probably, I think it's usually a little stale. And I'm kind of into that. I love theater popcorn and a Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. This is a side note, but have you seen, do you ever watch The Office?
Yes.
Did you see the Sweeney Todd episode where they're passing around the bottle of wine and it ends up rolling down the cement?
I love The Office. I love comedic TV shows. I love comedic theater. Usually I'm not really into serious shows. They're just not my thing. So there are a few very serious shows that can really catch my attention and connect with me. I'm trying to broaden my horizons and get better about that. But especially teaching middle school now, it's hard to pick shows. It's hard to pick shows that are serious if you don't have the right group of kids that's ready to tackle that challenge.
What part of the creative process for you, like when you're making a show, do you enjoy the most?
I love everything about directing a show. I really, really do. I love blocking. I love putting together the story. I love a cold read. I love a read through before we've even done auditions and you know anything about the character. I love the discovery process. But what I love the most is when we're past the blocking, the kids are off book on their scripts, the lights are set, the set is there, they know when it goes on and off, and I step back and I don't take notes anymore. And I sit and I watch the creation that they have put together. I think that's what's so inspiring about teaching theater is you do get to teach and you do get to direct, but it all comes back to being about those kids and that community and that group that you have put together for that one time on that stage. They may never all be there together at one time again, but that's what matters. I like to sit and see what they do. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, I love that. Can you paint me a picture, walk me through a day in the life for you when you're in that wheelhouse? So like when you're feeling your most creative, what does a day look like for you?
Okay, so I am a scheduler. which I know does not always flow well with all artistic minds, but I'm a bit type A and I like a good schedule. So I follow my schedule as much as I possibly can throughout the day. And organize it pretty much like we're going to dance for a certain amount of time, we're going to sing for a certain amount of time, we're going to act for a certain amount of time. And at the beginning of my schedule, it is work, 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 work. I'm going to throw blocking at you. We're going to run it as fast as we can. And then once that script is out of your hand, we'll start developing. We'll get a little bit more creative. I love rasa boxes, which is a technique that engages students with different words that stand for different emotions. And I like for them, it's just a very beginning workshop. They take a line and then they just make sure that that line is memorized and that it's in their head and that they're ready to go. They drop all characterization, come to a complete actor's neutral. Once they're at that complete actor's neutral, you take a breath and let it out. Then you step into one of the rasa boxes. And then you are that emotion. You link that emotion with something that you've experienced firsthand in your life or something that you can link it to from a movie or someone else's experience that it gives you that emotion of the box that you are standing in. And then you speak that line and that emotion. Step out of the box, back to an actor's neutral, find a new box, and experiment with different emotions, with different lines, and what that can mean in the context of a show. I love to do rasa boxes. I also love to do a little bit of improvisation with shows. I like to sometimes switch up characters. I like to switch up accents. I like to do speed throughs to solidify things. I just really love to do everything that has to do with theater. But those are some things that I really love to do in the process of directing to help the students with discovery of characterization.
Cool. Pardon me for a second. I'm going to turn the camera just a little.
Am I moving around too much?
No, you're doing great. I'm and this is not so you have to think about it, but I actually love, like, you talk a lot with your hands.
Oh.
I'm missing all of that.
Oh. I do talk a lot with my hands. Sometimes I don't know what to do with my hands.
There we go. You're being a good sport.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Oh, this is great. Yeah, I love that. I understand what you mean. Just being in love with all parts of the process.
Yeah, I do. And I love to experience that process. That's something that I think I'm missing right now is I haven't been in a show myself in like 4 years now, or 3 or 4 years. And I think I miss that. And I think that's something I need to jump into again soon, because I think it's really important as a director to kind of keep that experience in mind. Remember what it's like to be nervous, standing in the middle of the stage behind a door before you go on for your line, thinking through what your lines are. You know, I think it's important to have that experience of forgetting your line or struggling to learn things or struggling with a character that's just not something that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that I need to jump back into maybe this coming summer or something with community theater and just get my feedback in the acting a little bit. Because you can also, when it comes to directing, you can learn so much from being directed. And so I think that's really important and probably something that I need to get back into a little more.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about projections a little bit.
Okay.
You've used them.
I have.
Talk about your views about them, your experience with them.
Okay. So what I love is, I've told you before, but I'm in a space that is not really very versatile, and it's heavily used by my school. It's not actually a gym, but it has that hardwood floor, and then it has bleachers on one side. And I'm at a school where I'm really blessed that we have a lot of technology. So we have the projector and the Apple TV and all of that stuff that we can connect to through a Crest-On panel and all of that. And that is where I do all of my performances for my class shows, which is at least 3 a year, sometimes 4 a year. So most recently this last year, we did The Wizard of Oz and we did Charlotte's Web. Um, I don't ever want to turn anyone away from my class that's interested in theater, no matter what aspect of theater they're interested in. So what I've realized is even though they're in middle school and you think that they just want to get out there and they want to be silly and they want to be crazy, not all of them do. Some of them want to learn how to direct. Some of them want to learn how to stage manage. And some of them want to learn a little bit about tech. What I love about projections and the specific to the projections that you guys provide with Theater Ab is, number one, they come to me so easily. They're the delivery, the actuality of me getting these projections is easy. It's so easy. And then you throw them in a Keynote or a PowerPoint or a Google slide or whatever the kid is comfortable using. And then they're controlling the whole background of the show, the whole setting of the show. That's so much responsibility. And you make it so easy for me to give that to them, which is really, really fantastic. But I also love projections because of the mood and the atmosphere that it can give. With The Wizard of Oz, the projections are just beautiful. And then with Charlotte's Web, I loved the animated aspect of that. The animation of the words that were moving onto the web and what my character of Charlotte could physically do with that while it was happening. And she really developed it herself, but she developed it after being inspired by the projections. And then my favorite that we've done is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And so this was actually on my main stage. This was in Cullet Theater. And so I was a little nervous because in that space, it's a main stage show, number one, so it's a bit more pressure. There are a bit more kids in it, so that always adds something. And that was my first time really using projections along with a full set. So our theater is not set up to really use projections for shows. We have a big, nice projector that will throw a really long distance and still be clear and good quality, but it's made to project onto a screen, not onto our site. So it was a bit of a struggle to readjust it to where it would get onto the site, but not onto the actors' faces. But if you could hear the audience just whispering to each other when the slide changed, because then they knew exactly where we were going. And with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you're going a million places that are so wild and crazy. And if you don't have a backstage space to put a set, what do? You get projections. And then you don't have to worry about it. Once again, still could be student run, still could be student focused. I just think that they're really fantastic. I've had a very, very good experience.
Yeah. When you, kind of jumping a little bit again, but if you could boil down some of the experiences that you've had in directing different kinds of shows, and you had like a young director, either in community theater or in high school, middle school, come to you, and you could give them a few starting tips, what would be some things you would definitely mention?
Okay, number one, start with what you love. Because if you don't choose a piece that you are inspired by, you are not going to be able to lead the inspiration of those students. So number one, choose a piece that inspires you. And then consider the student population that you have. Don't be afraid to push them. Don't be afraid to get a little edgy or talk about a subject that might hit close to home. What I've discovered with middle school is that they're actually really intrigued by social emotional pieces. It challenges them a bit more. You might think that they just want to act as characters, which they do because that's fun too. But it depends on what kind of style of theater you want to bring to them. And I find that the emotionality is really, really beautiful, what you can do with social emotional pieces with middle school. It's really gorgeous. But so start with something that inspires you so that you can inspire your group. don't be intimidated by other people's shows. Everybody's performance is going to be different. Everybody's directing style is going to be different. Trust your heart, follow your heart, and know that you, as long as you are putting your best foot forward, and as long as you are following your heart and doing what is best for the kids, it will come together as the best piece of theater that it can be. So don't be intimidated.
Yeah. You realize you talk in sound bites, don't you?
No.
Do you know what I'm saying when I say you talk in sound
like
bites?
it's easy to chop up?
No, well, no, it's
What does that
it's
mean?
wonderful. I mean, I can tell that you're very comfortable and confident just speaking about what you love, which is
I do.
really
I
great.
just love it.
I appreciate that. It makes it really easy to just have a chat,
Yeah.
But I appreciate it. It's
Cool.
also good to get to know you a little bit better and like what you
Yeah.
love about theater.
It's so fun to talk about.
Yeah. And this is another good thing is you're touching on so many of my questions. So
Oh,
there's
good.
fewer of them.
Good.
Check and see how we're doing with time. Okay, so you talked a lot at the beginning about this idea of community, which I love. What does that look like when a theater community is working as best it can?
I think, once again, I think it looks like family. I think it looks, in order to be a community working the best you can, every single little piece of that community has to be connected. So every single person that is there has to be seen, they have to be heard, and they have to be connected to someone or something. The script, the set, technical elements, assistant directing. I think it's all about connection and connectivity within the group. Trust is huge, right? Because when we do theater, we're asking you to get on a stage in front of 300 plus people and be silly. You gotta be a little bit silly. So it's about trusting your peers, trusting your director, and building that community.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. What's a song or a line from a show that you especially love?
Okay, give me a moment. I'm on the spot. I have to think about my favorite song. I'm still thinking about Lizzo because of Mark Drum. I'm like, blame it on my juice. That is not from a musical. Okay, let me think through like my favorite musicals. I'm gonna go back to Legally Blonde. All I'm gonna say is what you want is right in front of you. Because that's what she sings. What you want is right in front of you. Just jamming out to that song, number one, because it's a really fun song. But I think that if you're willing to step outside of yourself sometimes, think about a mirror. What you want is right in front of you. You have to believe in yourself, dig into yourself, dig through what you think you are in order to see you have exactly what you need in your heart right in front of you.
Yeah. A line? Is there a line?
A line. Gosh, I haven't been in a show in so long. I'm trying to think of one from Footloose or something like that. Or what have I done recently? Oh, okay. So I recently did a show called Box and a show called The Audition, and now I'm going to forget the third title, but they are social emotional pieces that are really, to me, geared towards middle school, high school students. It really attacks bullying and things like that. And one of the lines that would get stuck in my head over and over again, and I think is so relevant to school-age students. And the line that the students repeat is jeans, cute t-shirt, sweater, because they're worried about fitting in. And everybody wears jeans, cute t-shirts, and sweaters. And then in that scene, different people break out. And they're talking about how their mom's mad because they don't want to go back to school shopping, but they can't go back to school shopping right now because they don't know what people are going to be wearing at school. Is their sweater supposed to be baggy, or is it supposed to be tight? Are their jeans supposed to be skinny legged, or are their jeans supposed to be wide legged? And I think repetition, number one, is something that can really connect an audience. And then I think thinking about yourself, and by the end of the scene, of course, they break through and they don't need the jeans, cute t-shirt, and sweater. But I think thinking of yourself, that jeans, cute t-shirt, sweater, and then breaking through is a really amazing aspect of theater that you can kind of bring into reality. Everybody might think that Glinda should be played that way. But if you lose that jeans, cute t-shirt, sweater mentality, you can play it your own way. You can bring your own character to it and just realize that you can be yourself, and always put a little piece of yourself into your performance, because then you get to keep a little piece of that performance to build into yourself.
Yeah. 2 more. You ready?
Okay.
We're almost there.
Okay.
This is a little bit of a creative question, and just to challenge you, I'm going to have you step outside of Legally Blonde for this one. Okay. Is there a character in theater that you would enjoy talking to?
Oh yeah. Okay.
And how do you imagine the conversation would go?
Okay. Let me think. I'm going to think on it for a minute. In theater that I'd really like to talk to. Gosh, there's so many. There's so many to pick just one. I think, hold on, I want to think for one more second. Who I would want to talk to and how it would go. Maybe, gosh, I'm stumped. Okay. I think maybe I would like to, okay, I'm going to go a little weird here. Maybe Fiona from Shrek. Number one, I think she's really bubbly and fun and cool, but I would want to talk to her after the transition of everything goes through, and after her love story with Shrek has played out through the end, and see, what are her regrets? What does she think about? What were her real challenges, and were they worth it? To really transition from a human to an ogre, and what all that takes, and is she really as happy as it portrays at the end? I'm going crazy.
You're lobbing a rhetorical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you think she'd say?
I'm a hopeless romantic, so I can only hope that she would be absolutely 100% happy tooting away the world with Shrek.
Yeah. Well, DreamWorks would be very happy to hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. This is maybe a little broader, and it could be within education, but then it could even be beyond, just for theater in general. But where do you really hope it goes? There is where it is right now, theater as something that obviously has been around forever and is still unlike so many other different kinds of entertainment. And it's kind of in a unique place. It feels like, even with, and I think this probably happens in every generation, that you have shows like Hamilton, or you have shows like Dear Evan Hansen, or different things that come along that sort of feel like they, in the art world, we call it like they crack things wide open, where all of a sudden it feels like there are more things that are possible, because like some routine or way of doing things kind of gets shifted to the side, and people see possibility in new areas. Like, are there hopes and dreams that you have for theater and where it could go, either in education or just as an art form to tell stories?
I hope it continues in relevancy. I think that, especially in educational theater, bringing relevant stories that students can really connect to their real life or the real life of others and the struggle of others is really vital and really important and really meaningful. I think if you can show the reality in a play like The Audition, where Carrie is not supported by her parents, if you can show that reality, though it might not be a reality for you, it might not be a struggle that you're living right now in your life, somebody out there is living this or has lived this struggle. And so out of respect, you've got to feel that. You have to put it in your heart, you have to feel it, and then you have to step through that mirror and go right through, because all you need is right there. But if you push it forward and you show it through theater, relevancy is there, and you can show that relevant story to other people, and we can always learn from each other. And I think educational theater is so amazing in that aspect.
Yeah. Nice.
Hey.
Was that fun at all?
That was fun. I love to talk, Mitch.
Yeah.
Talking's never a problem.
Yeah, no, that was great.